Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about the women prisoners in Turkey. As you know, after the coup attempt last year in Turkey, there has been thousands of men and women has been jailed, and they are expecting their court proceedings to be done. But there are a lot of problems, especially regarding women, and we are going to talk about this to Elif Alduman. She is a president of KMA International, which is a charity based in Brussels, and she's a very keen person in this topic, women in prison. So I'll be asking her what is happening. So Elif Hanım, welcome, and thank you very much for agreeing to talking to me.
Thank you as well for taking this initiative, which is very important, I think.
Thank you. Can you tell us roughly what is the general situation of women in prison in Turkey?
Yeah, the situation of women prisoners are not very good, actually, because they are facing with lots of difficulties, like overcrowded prisons. To give a picture on overcrowded cells, a journalist woman has written about her case that says they were together with 27 people in 3 cells, which are supposed to accommodate only for 3 to 5 people each.
And is this Aslı Erdoğan? Because I remember she has written something about that.
Yeah, writer Aslı Erdoğan has also written her own conditions when she was in prison. She was over 4 months there and described her experience to Turkish media. She said that the prison cells were totally not hygienic. Prisoners were not allowed to use bathrooms, and the cells were smelling urine. It was very cold and heating was not available, and they haven't received clean water. And
for instance, what else there are? Like how many in general, the number, for instance?
There are not any exact figures about women today because it is not released by the ministry. They haven't provided exact data on women, but the reports on the Turkish media estimates that there are over 60,000 to 20,000 women nowadays are in jails.
But we don't know exact figures because the Justice Ministry is not releasing anymore the information, which is another strange issue in terms of transparency.
Yeah, when we take into account that Turkish prisons have a capacity of more than 180,000, and there are only 6 women prisons in Turkey, one is an open one. Many women were imprisoned in jails built for men rather than women, and they are not allowed to enjoy their rights because of lack of facilities for women. And that means there is an additional and unjustifiable punishment applied for those women in such prisons. They also face with lots of risks about abusing and ill treatment by male guards because they are in prisons which is designed for men.
I see. That's the big question mark there. So about other needs, women healthcare needs, for instance, what about the conditions in terms of their basic needs and other healthcare sanitary needs, for instance?
Yeah, there are many seriously ill women, like a woman who is a cancer patient, not allowed to see any family members and denied access to her drugs. There are a lot of cases like this. Not only women are not allowed to access their drugs. There are also lots of men who has passed away. There are lots of examples like a teacher or a nurse has passed away in their prison cells because they denied access to her drugs.
I see. I heard that there was recently a woman was arrested and she gave a cesarean birth, and as soon as her blood was stopped, she was arrested a couple of days ago, I think. But coming back to the general situation, what else is there another problem that in general in prisons, but especially for women?
the visitation rights are restricted, not only for women, of course, for men as well, because of the state of emergency and the government decree. The government put harsh restrictions into visits by reducing the number of visits, and they apply arbitrary policies, suspending these rights at whim of prosecutors and prison guards.
Yes.
There's, for instance, a very sad case which happened during the visitation. A mother was first detained and then arrested while she was entering a prison to visit her husband. She had 5 children, one with Down syndrome, were left alone in the prison parking until their relatives came to pick them up. The elder brother of the children took a video while they were waiting in the car of their relatives to pick them up. You can just Google it to have a look to the video.
Yeah, I remembered it. I'll try to put that video. So in terms of, I want to come back to that woman staying prisons designed for men. Isn't there the problem, a possible problem about sexual harassment? Like, isn't that the problem?
Lots of reports are released by the women prisoners, but the names are not. The names are unknown because they don't want to give their names because it is a sexual harassment case. We know that lots of women are sexually abused or raped, even raped. They are stripped in front of their husband's eyes, and they're threatened to rape by 4 different men we have heard, which is very heartbreaking, even if it's in front of their husband's eyes. It is very unacceptable, actually. We know that one of our journalists has faced this sexual harassment, which called Ayşenur. What was
Ayşenur
it?
Ayşenur,
yeah. She wrote a letter from prison to Cumhuriyet, which is very normal because she's a journalist, stating that she was beaten and sexually harassed by drunk police officers during her 8 days in custody. After her letter was published in the Daily, they put her in isolation for 19 days. She was just trying to be voice for other women detainees. She said that they were taken to a doctor with a detained female judge who had slit her wrists and attempted suicide, and her roommate, who is 16 years old, has been searched twice. And they deport. There are lots of deportations, transportations between the prisoners, and under the guardian of male guardians. It is normally not allowed. It is against the laws of the prisons, but because of the state of emergency, they have seen maybe the right to search them stripped.
I see. That's sexual harassment in any way. There are so many issues to cover. Now, these are all very tragic, but just to understand what is happening, what about some of the women, for instance, the one I was talking about, who was arrested after they gave birth, or who are arrested with their children? So that means there are some children in prison. Can you tell us about them? What is the situation of those children in prison?
Not all women are not allowed to take their children with them. We know that a couple of days old babies are not allowed to be together with their mothers because it's overcrowded, but they're estimating over 500 children obligatory in jail with their mother. And these children are between the ages of 0 to 5. They don't have prison yards. It is not allowed to have a toy or even a teeter. They are only able to have a bed once a month. There isn't any space to play for these children because it's overcrowded, as I said. It is very cold and unhygienic for a child. There are limited milk and baby food, we have heard from the prisoners, that they can give to their children. There are only a few of them who give education to children,
I see. So just to clarify this, like, who are these women jail recently, are they all Gülenists or hizmet-related people? Can you tell us a bit about their background and whether they are convicted? Because as far as I know, most of these prisoners are not even convicted of a crime yet. They are still effectively suspects in prison.
Yeah, most of women who were jailed are alleged to be affiliated with Gülen movements. There are also Kurdish politicians, but lots of them are political prisoners and not criminals and offenders. When they see the bars and walls of a jail for the first time in their life, they are put in a traumatic situation. They may lead to mental health problems, including depression, phobias, and anxiety. For instance, there is a case of a woman who has a child with cancer, leukemia, I think, arrested along with her husbands, had been tortured and was threatened by authorities with her children being taken away. She eventually developed symptoms of psychological disorder and lost her sanity under detention, although the doctor's report reveals that the woman was subjected to heavy torture for days and therefore her mental health was in critical condition. Court sent her to prison.
So a woman who has a ill child, which by law means she should be given some priority because she's a caretaker of somebody else, and she is a suspect, not even a convicted criminal. She's suspect of a coup attempt, which is probably there is no connection. So she'll put in a prison, and then because of the torture she lost her mind. And this is certified by the doctors, but the court still didn't allow her to go out or even go to a more appropriate hospital, not in a normal prison. Is that right?
Yeah, it is exactly like this. And it is estimated that she is not the only one who are facing with these problems. I think that lots of women who are in jail nowadays has facing these psychological problems because it is the first time that they see those kind of situation in their life.
I see. So one last question then, after listening all these heartbreaking stories, and I've read some of them on the Stockholm Center for Freedom report as well, Women in Jail in Turkey, which I'll put a link below so everyone can read it as well. What can be done?
Maybe, not everyone, but international committee can done some things like they can mobilize and they can raise their voice on what is happening nowadays in Turkey, because it's very important that international intergovernmental organizations or non-governmental organizations can observe, investigate, and report these massive human rights violations in Turkey and hold those who act with impunity to account.
Elif Aldıman, thank you very much for sharing your insights. It was very helpful, although it was very heartbreaking as well. And I will put all the links below so you can see the reports and share it probably and raise some awareness. Thank you very much for joining us from Brussels, and we'll speak to you again, hopefully.
Thank you as well to contact me.
Have a nice day.